Hello, welcome. Welcome to my live today. Who are your spirit guides? I'm pretty sure I'm in the right place. Thank you so much for joining me. For anyone that jumps on live, I'm going to repurpose this material. So if you are watching via Instagram or YouTube or inside the Enchantress Circle, please feel free to say hello. And if you're watching this later on in the replay, let me know that you've jumped on the replay too. It's always really nice to see who's been here. Thank you so much for anyone that is on. I'm June Mack. This is my group. I am a psychic, clairvoyant, intuitive energy healer. Just released my own podcast. So for any of you that don't know, search the Fully Woo podcast via Spotify or any other most listening platforms. Episode 4 is actually going to be about the same thing. Who are your spirit guides? So if you're watching this, no need to listen to episode 4. I wish there was a way that I could figure out how to repurpose the material, so I'm not saying the same thing twice, but it looks like I'm saying the same thing twice because I still don't know how to. Hi Rhonda, thanks so much for jumping on live. Oh, hi Kerry, it's so good to see you on as well. So today, sort of getting straight into it, one of my most favorite subjects ever to talk about. Feel free, by the way, to comment while I'm speaking. Let me know about any experiences that you guys have had with your spirit guides or who you believe might be your spirit guides. It's always nice to have this like a conversation rather than just me talking for like 40 minutes. But I get really, really excited to speak about spirit guides, and I'm really passionate. I just could literally talk about it for hours and hours, but don't worry, I won't hold you here for hours and hours. The reason why I get so excited, I think, is like for me, when everything sort of really started to change was when I decided to really work close with my spirit guides and develop further this relationship with them. And when I really surrendered to them and allowed them to come in or invited them in, and this is something that you can do as well, is invite them into your life and ask them to help you with things. We don't realize it's actually that easy. If you're stuck on something, ask them for help with the answer. And sometimes it's almost like I'll go to sleep and then the next day it's so clear as to what it is I'm supposed to do, because we have the power to use them and make our lives so much more powerful. And when we bring them in, it makes everything we do so much more potent. Like when I go on a live, before I'm about to run a class or do a reading, I always bring them in close. And, you know, some people might say it's just because you think that they're helping that it helps, but it doesn't matter because it's helping me. I always feel like I feel a difference between when I bring them in versus when I don't. So, I guess what exactly or who are they is probably, because a lot of people talk about them all the time. I always bang on about them, but a lot of people's knowledge is not so vast. I mean, like and this is the crazy thing about the spiritual world, is that there's so many different interpretations of how people perceive things. It's sort of like, when you go and you might have all witnessed a car accident or a little prang or something, and about 7 of you witnessed the same thing, but you all have different versions of it. It's kind of like that in terms of spirituality, because you're never going to get 100% scientific proof either way. It's all a matter of perception, and everything that I speak about today is only my own perception, or the way that I have perceived things or been shown things from my own guide. So if you have different beliefs or understandings, absolutely, that's completely amazing and fine. And I love hearing about other people's interpretations. So this is just my interpretation, but I think that we do have free will, so we can decide whether we want to bring them into our life or not. And so I guess, who are they? I believe, so my interpretation is that we have had our own spirit guides or angels, whatever it is you want to call them, whatever it is you resonate with, since birth. And they have been there for us always, and they know you better. Your own spirit guides know you better than absolutely anyone else. They know the core of you, exactly who you are as a spirit and where you have been. They've been there always. And the very reason they are here is to work with you and to work together and to help you navigate this life. So kind of how I have seen it, or how I perceive it to take place, is that if you are a soul that is here on earth, you have picked one of the most dense places to come to, like as a spirit, because I do believe we are more spirit than what we are human. And if you've decided to incarnate here in a human body, it's pretty tough going. Like for a spirit that might be used to, you know, incarnations in different ways, most of the time as you know, not necessarily inside a physical body, earth is pretty tough. And that's for many reasons, because we experience things on earth with human emotions. So we have our emotions that get in the way. So things like, you know, feelings of lack, self-worthiness, self-doubt, you know, things like jealousy, envy, all those types of feelings. We have our own emotions. We have our own analytical mind or brain. We have a physical body, which can actually, you know, like get sick or get injured. And we have a soul as well. So it can be quite, is there a word called turbulent? Turbulent is probably the word I'm looking for. Navigating earth. And, you know, God, the universe, the divine, whatever it is you want to call it, wouldn't send you here to a place like this without your own, like a little posse of spirit guides or angels to help you through what it is that you're trying to navigate here. So before you come down, you usually agree to a bunch of lessons you want to learn, or your soul wants to learn this time around, because this is literally, you know, like earth is like a game or like a school that we're all coming here really to learn and to grow. And so you pick a bunch of things that you want to grow in, you want to learn about, things that you are going to try and achieve. And you have your little spirit team or your astral team that are there to help you work through this. And they are there to help to guide you. It's just a matter of, we are all born with intuition. I do believe we are all born with psychic abilities. It just sort of gets conditioned out of us as, you know, we go on. As you know, children are very, very in tune. How many of you have kids who have seen, you know, little spirits in the corner, or know what's about to happen, or are so good at, like, you know, judge of character? And that's how we all once were, and then it kind of gets conditioned out. So these messages that we are getting from our spirit guides, sometimes they can get hard to listen to because we listen to our own head or other people's opinions too much. So who exactly are they? What I think, or how I perceive them, and it's almost really hard to articulate how I perceive spirit guides, because when I experience them, the way that I receive things through psychic, you know, clairs or abilities, it's not in a human way. So it's hard to explain it in words. It's so hard to explain in words. But when I do connect with my own spirit guides, or with your spirit guide, say I were to do a reading for you, the feeling of the love that they have, and just pure light and goodness, and just, it's just such an amazing feeling. And I really do wish that everyone could experience it, because it's meant to be experienced, and that's what they're there for, is for you to connect with them. So I think that they are high vibrational spirits that are not yet, you know, made it back to source or God, or, you know, universe, the divine, whatever you want to call it. And they are still spirits that also have lessons to learn themselves. Most of the time, I think that spirit guides are spirits that have finished incarnating, and they're here to help us. So part of the rest of their lessons now is to help other, you know, spirits or souls that are still incarnating. Look, I could have this totally off on point, but this is just from what you may have read before. I actually haven't read a lot of material on it. There are some things that I've picked up from mentors along the way, and I've taken what resonates with me. And this is the same as what you'll do. You take what resonates with you and leave the rest. But this is how I feel like it's tried to be explained to me through my own guides. And I think that we have, like, say, for example, a human's vibration might be around here. So we're around here, we're vibing here. Your spirit guides and loved ones generally are vibing around a little bit higher. Then you've got ascended masters, goddesses, archangels, which are here. And then you've got, God, the source, divine, up here. And so us as humans to communicate with our spirit guides have to raise our vibe a little, and they've got to lower their vibe a bit too and kind of meet in the middle, which is why they also call it a medium, because a medium connects with spirit guides and passed over loved ones, which are also vibing here. So to be able to communicate with your spirit guides, a lot of the time you need to raise your vibration a little bit, and things, like meditation obviously can help, but that's a whole nother kettle of fish, which I'll talk a little bit about towards the end. So in regards to spirit guides, how many do they have, and kind of like how many do we have, and kind of who are they? So from what I can understand, we have a master guide, or like your main guide, who is there with you from birth and up until the end of your lifetime. And they would be the one that, say you were to hear their voice, or maybe see them, or look into their eyes, or someone would how there's those amazing people who can draw pictures, would draw a picture, they would look very familiar to you, because this is literally the one that you've had with you since you were born. It's been assigned to you since you were born. You've got your gatekeeper, who I believe to be like your little protector, who is there to kind of protect you from, low vibrational entities, or, if you're in a sticky situation, when you've got warnings. Like, I've heard so many stories of, like when your intuition kicks in and like you're driving along and a kangaroo's about to jump out in front of you. If you've ever had a situation like that and you go, oh, something tells me to slow down, and you slow down, I perceive this as your gatekeeper, as your protector, who's kind of jumping in and trying to give you that information. And then we have your other guides, which generally, from what I can tell, we usually have anywhere between 5 and 8, but that's just a rough number. You might have less, you might have more at a particular time. There are some people who I've tuned into who have a very big astral team, and sometimes it's I think that it's because they are a soul that has had many, 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 many incarnations. So it's almost like they have collected, all these spirits kind of hanging out there. And sometimes, depending on what stage of life you're going through, you might have more that step in because you need the assistance. And generally, I'd say though, usually I would pick up between 5 and 8. I usually, in a reading, I can tune into 1 or 2. I would kind of be able to make out figures almost of how many-ish are there, but I wouldn't say I generally can zoom in my ability to more than 1 or 2. Generally, it's just 1 that would come through in a reading. But these other guides, besides your master guide and your gatekeeper, usually come in to help you with specific areas in your life. So you might have a specific guide that steps in, when you first become a mother, or you are a mum and you kind of need that like nurturing support there for yourself, and that nurturing energy to help you nurture your child. So you might have a specific guide that steps in for that, and they might step out, when you've got past that first year. So for most people that I've spoken to, from my own experience, sometimes the first year is pretty tough, especially first time you're a new mum, and they could step out again. So these other guides, you might have them for a couple of weeks, might be a few months, it might be for an entire year, it might be for a few years, it could be up until the end again. You just don't know. It just depends on sort of how long you need them for. And these other guides that step in, they could be spirits from past lives that have decided to, like, say for example, you might have a amazing close friend from another past life that you went through life together and you never left each other's side, and maybe they've decided not to incarnate this time around, but they might have wanted to stick around and see you through this incarnation and to kind of help to guide you through this incarnation. So this is where I was saying, like, some of I perceive usually like master guides to be souls that have finished incarnating, but then sometimes there's other ones that step in like this who maybe haven't finished incarnating. They're just kind of hanging around to help you through. You know what? It's the spiritual world. Who even knows? Sometimes it's really hard to get these type of answers. And as, you know, spirits, they don't care. It's just as humans that kind of want to know all the nitty gritty. I have perceived guides before that are of the elementals nature. So elementals are like literally elves, fairies, mythical type creatures like mermaids, just some crazy stuff that does not look, you know, it's not human. And I do actually, like, since this started happening to me in readings and picking up on these types of beings, elemental, you know, guides, I do think that a lot of the stuff that has come from books and movies and, you know, stories of mythical creatures, I think they've all come from somewhere. Like, it's not like they've come from people's imaginations, but maybe it's because they've perceived these at, you know, some particular timeline. I've even seen, like, I'm not even joking, like a man that was like a tree or like a tree man. And it wasn't long after I've seen him in one of my own meditations that it just started popping up in my feed, or someone started talking about it. It's actually a thing, like a tree person. Some of you who might be on one of, I don't know, might have already heard about it. I forgot what they're called, but I was like, what? This is actually a thing, like a tree person. Anyway, so fairies actually tend to come through a lot in my readings, and I love when I get fairy energy, because fairy energy is very playful and light and happy, and they're generally healers, and they come through a lot for healers as well. I myself have perceived a guide that I have that's a fairy spirit guide too, and when I first saw her, I thought I was tripping big time. I was like, no way, this is just crazy. And I was actually in a meditation with another spiritual mentor and a whole bunch of people, and I was like, nah man, you've like lost it, like, to myself. And yeah, the person who was running the actual thing said, June, you've got like fairy energy like everywhere around you. And that was just amazing, because it just confirmed that I wasn't losing my marbles at this particular time. Anyway, so some of my own guides who I've picked up on as well, I know I have 2 Egyptian guides there, a male and a female, which are quite prominent at the moment. There's almost like I want to say like a female Buddha type lady who's got like what Buddha, sometimes you see Buddha wearing on their head, like this gold thing. I'm not exactly sure what that is. I've also seen a Buddhist monk who I think might be my master guide. I'm unsure at the moment really whether my master guides are the Egyptians, because they come through quite a lot, or this cute little monk man, which I've seen a few times too. So they're my own guides that I've sort of perceived. You can have spirit guides that are spirit animals. So some of you, especially those who are very, you know, drawn to or have a gift for, you know, animals, you might have spirit guides that are animals in particular. I haven't seen any of my own that are animals, but I do see signs, you know, like outside, that when I believe that my guides are near, which, you know, for me, it's birds, you know, pigeons or crows in particular for me. But I have seen people's spirit guides who are tigers, a fox. I've actually seen one of those Pegasus type. It's like a horse with big wings. And I honestly feel like your spirit guide, if you were to connect with them, is going to be something that would make a lot of sense to you, or is going to be something that is not going to, that you're ready to see. So for example, if you're very new to spirituality, you're less likely to see, like, if you decide to do like a meet your spirit guide meditation, which by the way, you can absolutely do, and see what, you know, you come up with. If you're good at visualizing, you might see something. If you're not, that's not a big deal. There are many people who aren't visual people. They'll just feel things or have a knowing that, you know, their spirit guides are close or around. I'm about to record a Meet Your Spirit Guides meditation as well. I think next week, which actually is going to come with my masterclass, and because I'm on YouTube, you'll be able to find it on YouTube, which if you want the link to that, I can post it in here later, because they're pretty cool exercises to do, the Meet Your Spirit Guides meditations. For me, they work. But I'm a very visual person. So for me, one of my stronger senses is clairvoyance, which is a psychic sense of seeing, but that doesn't work for everybody. Some people, their sense of knowing is a lot stronger. Their sense of hearing or psychic hearing might be stronger. It's just interesting to know, and you can sort of find these things out when you might do the meditation, how you perceive it. It might just be a light that you feel to begin with. And I wouldn't get too caught up on trying to see your guides, especially at the beginning. Just knowing that they're there and feeling their presence really is the main thing. You can name them if you want to. There are some people who really feel better about giving them a name, but that's just a human thing, I believe. I don't necessarily think they always have names. It's just kind of us that feels like we need to name them, because that's what we do as humans. I don't think they really care whether you decide to call them like Dave or Fred or something. They don't mind too much. They're like, as long as you know that they're there, they don't really mind what you call them. So if that makes you feel better to name them, then go ahead. I do feel that, so we have project guides that might help us through a particular thing. So maybe if you're deciding to study something new, you might feel a guide come in for that particular stage in your life. And then once you finish your studying, they might step out again. And there's been a bit of debate about this, but I also think, from what I have perceived anyway, sometimes people's loved ones stick around and they are absolutely there guiding you, and they sort of step in as part of your astral team. A lot of people, or some spiritual people, like to say that they're separate. Then of course your loved ones are always guiding you anyway. But I have noticed in readings, especially if you are someone who's new to the spiritual world, that often a passed over loved one will come through as a guide, because this is the most gentle type of guidance that you can get, and something that might be easier for your mind to sort of feel at ease with, as to a familiar loved one, rather than, for example, like a dragon or something. So usually though, whoever it is that comes through, they will absolutely make sense to you, and they bring through certain energies. So there is someone that I did a reading for that had connected with previously a spirit guide who was there to help her with her own spiritual journey. And she was this beautiful, like mystical, intuitive, she was like an Asian looking woman, but I didn't perceive her to be human, because her eyes were a bit different than, say, a human's eyes were, and the way she was kind of moving around looked different. And it was pretty amazing, because when I voiced who it was, who I was seeing in her particular reading, this was the first spirit guide that she had recently connected with. She did this big like walk thing, and then was at the top of this amazing, like supposed to be very spiritual mountain, and did a meditation and connected with this Asian being who then said she was there to help her with, part of her spiritual awakening or her spiritual journey. And that particular energy that I was feeling when she was coming through was exactly the energy that this person needed in this time of their life, that to get her through. And so they will always match, I guess, the type of energy that you are needing in that moment. You also have the ability to be able to choose which spirit guides you want to work with, or to call in certain guides for certain areas of your life if they are not already there. So there are things like, goddesses. There's many, many different deities that you could work with, and there's so many different goddesses that do have different energies or different things that they bring in. So for example, probably a well heard of goddess might be Goddess Isis. She's the one with the Egyptian goddess with the amazing big wings. There's also Goddess Kali, so it's spelled, I think, Kahli, and she is known to be the huge shake-up goddess. So if you were to call her in, and you're in a stage in your life that you're just really not happy with anything, Goddess Kali would be who you would call in, because she literally rips the rug out from under you and everything turns upside down in your life. But then say 3-6 months time, everything will land exactly where it's supposed to, and you'd be like, thank goodness that happened. And I've actually been told to call her in a couple of times. So at the beginning, I was mentioning how we have our spirit guides and loved ones. Then you've got your goddesses, archangels, and ascended masters up here. So they are even higher energy that you can bring in and choose to work with. So we actually do have the ability to choose to work with, even higher frequencies, and their energies are even more powerful. So if you were to call Goddess Kali in, I've been told to call her in a couple of times, and I was too afraid to because she is good, of course, but the stories I've heard about people's lives just being completely turned upside down, all of a sudden boyfriend breaks up with you, all of a sudden you've lost your job, all of a sudden your roommate moves out, and you're just literally the rug has been pulled out from under your life, and it's quite brutal in the moment. It's tough, but then it's of course everything lands out how it's supposed to, but I just feel like I would probably prefer a more gentle approach for myself, even if it takes longer. That scared me. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm too scared to call her in. But you can also choose to work with archangels. There's many amazing archangels that Archangel Raphael, who is the master healer. There is Archangel Uriel, I think, who usually helps people with study, and she often comes up, or with remembering things. She comes up in a lot of my readings for people who do need to study, and their next step might be to learn something new. So there's a whole big rabbit hole of information you can go down with there, and researching those types of energies too. So asking your guides for help. I mentioned at the start that you can literally ask them for help with anything. I have asked for help from them before, with knowing, which program to release next, or whether this is the right house that I should be buying, or is it the next one? I want you to give me a sign or help me find out the answer. And you've got to give them time to sort of work their magic. It's not going to happen just instantly and you're going to know. As we mentioned at the start, Earth is such a dense place, and for them to work their magic, you've got to give them time to sort of let things fall into place. So you might write a manifestation list and read it out to your guides of everything that you want, but you've got to allow time, especially if it's a big thing, I want this new amazing $1 million house. You've got to give them, say, at least 12 to 3 years, 12 months to 3 years, maybe, to work that out for you. And it's also a matter of, it's not just them. You've got to take the action moving forward and actually pick up the intuitive hits that they're dropping for you. So you might have the intuitive hit to start your own business, page, or to leave that job and apply for a promotion and things like that. And if you're not listening to the information they're trying to give you, it's not going to happen. So it is such a big mixture of them trying to help you, but also of your own action moving forward, and actually not being afraid to take the steps and the leaps. So some signs that you might have already been receiving messages from them. Who sees angel numbers? When you look at the clock, you look at the time and it's 11:11, or 111, or 444. I believe that, they can be little messages sometimes from your spirit guides, and people say, but what do they mean? They mean something different for everybody, for all different people. So it's kind of there's not, for me, I don't think there's any one specific meaning. It might just be they're there, or that you are guided, you are loved. Maybe think about what you're thinking or what's going on at the specific time that you see them. You might be I don't know about, taking this step in my life moving forward. I don't know what to do. I think I should do it, but I'm too afraid. And then you look at the time and it's specific number, one of those angel numbers. Or sometimes they can be messages from loved ones, saying that they're around. You might feel when they are close, like you might be thinking about, you know, them, or feeling gratitude or something, and like, you know, a bird. Like, so one of my spirit guide signs is a pigeon, which I now associate with my dad. Long story, I'll tell that another time. And I've literally had times where I've been worried about something, or, you know, stressed about a decision, you know, like, you know, what we all worry about, you know, family issues or financial issues. And then all of a sudden, like, a pigeon literally will come and land like right near me. And I just know, and I smile, because it's like them saying, you know, it's okay, it's not a big deal, things are going to work out, it's going to be fine. So it's really nice to kind of like get that confirmation. You can ask them for signs, you know, come in, if you want to invite them in and say, you know, like, I'm ready to work with you. If you write stuff down, I do believe it's more powerful if you write things out, because it's almost like a written contract with them, and it makes it very specific, because, you know, often our thoughts are all over the place, but when we write things down, it's completely specific as to what we want. And you can say, like, you know, if you're there and we're ready to work together, visit me in my sleep, visit me in my dreams. And, you know, so many people who they give their spirit guides permission to do that, and they will have the craziest, most vivid dreams. They don't always make sense, because a big part in the beginning of opening up that connection with your spirit guides is actually understanding how you communicate with each other, because they don't communicate how we do. Not like just being able to speak like this. Like, a lot of the messages that I get through are metaphors almost, and they're symbols, and it's taken me a long time to decipher these symbols, but it's grown over time, you know, my ability to decipher all this work, all these, you know, all these images and what they mean. So at the beginning, I was literally waking up in the middle of the night and just seeing like images floating around, or like a flower or a feather floating around in front of me, and I'm like, what is this? What does this mean? So at the start, it's really a lot about trying to decipher what these messages mean, and the only way you're going to do that is to continue to develop this connection, or this communication with your guides, and moving forward. So at the start, I guess I didn't know what these signs were, but my abilities have grown over time as my trust for my spirit guides has developed as well, and my relationship has grown. Once you start picking up on their intuitive messages and what you think, you know, might be little signs from them, as in, like, you know, you keep thinking about, well, you don't feel happy in your job for one, and you keep thinking about going for like a promotion, for example, and you're like, okay, you know what, I'm taking this as a sign from my guide, I'm going to do it. And then it works out. Your guides get so excited every time you pick up on something that they've given you and you actually action it. And the more you action what they're giving you, or say, thank you, I got that, like I got that message, the more they will give you, and the more your intuitive abilities will grow. And this is kind of like what's happened with me, is the more that I've just trusted the information that's come in, the faster I've got at actioning it, and the more that my abilities have grown. Ways to actually connect with them. So I can give you a few things here as well before I go. Creating that quiet time with them, or setting aside some time to kind of bond with your guides, will make such a huge difference, because they can't get through to you, or it's harder for them to get through to you when, you know, especially a lot of us are so go all the time. That's why a lot of the time they'll come through to you in your sleep, in your dreams. One, because you're high vibe when you're sleeping. In between that asleep and awake, you're extremely high vibing, and also your analytical brain is pretty much turned off. So you're not going through like, you know, your to-do list in your head at that particular time. You're usually just like half asleep, and you'll receive things in that state of mind. So how you can create that state of mind, one is like meditation. So quiet meditation without either without any sound, or listening to something like binaural beats, which you can look up. It's spelled Binaural, I think. And they are just like these tones that pretty much help to switch off your analytical mind, meditation tones. And I have to listen to them because my house is noisy. I got kids. There's always some kind of noise going on and it distracts me. So I put binaural beats on. I just start with 5-10 minutes, like 5 minutes. I only do like 12 minutes, probably anywhere between 3 to 5 times a week. And that is my connection time with my guides. And I don't, in this time, I don't listen to a guided visualization because I'm leaving it open for that communication with them. Sometimes a lot happens, sometimes nothing happens. Sometimes I feel like I see colors or something. Sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's literally in my head for like, 10 minutes thinking about all the things. But underneath the surface, things are happening. Your connection is growing. So I am such a big advocate for some type of meditation. And I have never been a sit there for hours type of meditator, which there are many people that are, and that's amazing. That's just not me. I just can't do it. The longest I've probably ever gone is probably about 25 minutes generally. But yeah, I'm just usually 10-12 minutes and that's it. Sometimes it's less, sometimes not. I'm like, nope, got to turn off the binary beats, I can't do it. And you create this time as like a date for you and your spirit guides, and let me know how you go, because this on its own is such a huge thing. There's things like, automatic writing. Hi Maria, so nice to see you on live. What time is it over there? There's things like going out for walks in nature, because being outside, that high vibe energy, it really does rub off on you, and it's so good to recharge. And you can be like, okay, I'm going for a walk now, I'm on my own without the kids obviously, because it's a bit hard to connect. I'm opening up communication with my guides. What do you want to tell me? And it'll feel like your own thoughts in the beginning, but you can learn how to start to differentiate. So that's, I guess, pretty much it on who your spirit guides are. I hope that this has been somewhat useful, and you can take this information, and I hope you're more inclined to want to try and connect with your own spirit guides, because it really is the most amazing thing, and where everything started with me is just with that connection with them, and that's what they're there for. They want you to do that. They're excited. They get so excited when you invite them in, because we have that free will to connect. If you want to do that, you can. It's so easy. It doesn't take long either. Like, you'll just be surprised what happens. So if you wanted to go deeper on this, I have a masterclass next week. So if you want to go to junemac.com /programs, I have a masterclass next week, which is just sort of the basics on connecting with your guides and really establishing that initial connection, and going a little bit deeper into a few of those things that I mentioned. And that's $33. It's just a spirit guide masterclass. If you want to go, and that's just for a little taste of it. If you're unsure, if this is the first time, dealing with spirit guides or whatever, and you're unsure what to expect, that could be a nice little toe dipper-inner, is that for you? A nice little way to dip your toes in. If you're looking to go deep and you're like, I know that I'm ready to connect with my spirit guides, and you want to go deep on this, I'm so excited. I have a program called Guided. It starts on June 7th, and it's, again, junemac.com /programs, and look for Guided. And it's a 5-week program, which is basically every week we will do a live Zoom together. It's a group program, and we'll kind of go through a few different tools or new exercises you can do to really cement in that connection with your spirit guide. And the aim of the game is, by the end of the 5 weeks, to be able to receive or understand how to receive intuitive insight from your guides. So no matter whether you are interested in doing this for yourself, which is such a game changer for yourself, because, oh my goodness, life just becomes so much easier, so much more in flow. You stop second guessing everything. You just do the things, because you know that these are messages from your guides and this is what you're meant to do. That is kind of what the aim of the game is for the program. And we are also going to have, so it's not just the weekly Zooms, we're also going to have a Voxer group. So for those of you that don't know what Voxer is, it's a live walkie-talkie app where you can talk backwards and forwards. So you can tell me about things that are happening, and or how you're going with exercises, and I can kind of literally give you that one-on-one support or group support through Voxer too. So it'll be open on weekdays. You can literally message me and go, hey, I tried meditating, didn't work, what am I doing wrong? And a brief outline of kind of what we go over. That's $344, by the way, for the 5 weeks, and payment plans are available for that. Just ask me about it, message me about it if you have any questions at all. Of course, my inbox is always open, but we're really going to deep dive into inviting in your guides, starting intuition diary, how to actually meditate. If you're like, okay, it's all good, you telling me about meditation, but like, what do I do? You know, we're going to talk about spiritual boundaries, becoming a vessel, what it's like to be a clear vessel for this information, how you might receive intuitive insight from your spirit guides, because it is different for everybody and it's never in the way that you're expecting it that it's going to happen, and everyone is different, which is so cool. We're going to be talking about like going in depth about automatic writing and doing these exercises together. How to decipher the messages that come through, or beginning to decipher messages, practice channeling messages. Is going to be practice in the group session too. It's going to be so fun. I'm really, really excited for this. Yes, so if you're interested, starts on June 7. This is a live program. So once it's run, I don't know if you're going to be able to purchase it again. I think you probably can, but it'd be better to jump in live anyway. So that's June 7th. If you're interested in that at all, guided, I'm really excited. I've been wanting to do this program for a long time, but I just haven't got there. So anyway, that is my live for today. If you have any other questions at all, please feel free to message me. I'll pop them up into the live here. I think I've only seen a few highs. Not many questions. Sorry if I just talked your ear off and didn't give you time to ask any questions, but I'd love to hear how you go. If anyone wants to, you know, invite their guides in and kind of see what happens. I love hearing your stories. If you would like to book a reading with me as well, of course, JuneMac.com. On the first page, I think you just scroll down and go to book a session. Rhonda, oh, thank you. I'm so appreciative of you, lovely people that jumped on live. And I can't wait for the next live, which I'm not sure what that's going to be about. But thank you so much for jumping on, and have a really great afternoon. Or if Maria, if you're still there, I don't know what time it is, morning, night. And thanks heaps, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.